Before the success stories, the progress, there was you. You who made a choice to grow, to inspire, to overcome your own challenges. At NASM, we're in service of your limitless potential because when you keep growing, we all get stronger. And we'll never stop making your journey our mission. Join the fitness leader. Become a fitness leader. Become a certified personal trainer.
You're listening to the NASM-CPT Podcast with Richey, winner of the Share Care Emmy Award for Social Storytelling and the official podcast of the National Academy of Sports Medicine.
Hey, y'all, and welcome to the NASM-CPT Podcast. My name is Richey, and today I'm reaching into the mailbag because I'd gotten a really good question a few weeks back, but I was in the midst of going through the postural analysis of the CPT-7 and what was in that form on page 811. But now that has come to an end. We've wrapped that up. And so now I'm going back and trying to get some of these questions that were asked. And so I got this question from RJ. And it says, "Hey, Dr. Richey, been loving your podcast. And I've checked to make sure that this wasn't covered. At least it isn't by title. But I have two questions. One, as I continue to get more certifications, does it matter in which order they are placed? Is there a rule for this, or is it just by importance?" I'm going to go ahead and answer that question. As you start to get more and more certifications, it is very important to note that the ones that are accredited are first. So if you, let's say, for instance, my university is accredited. Now, I generally put my doctorate and my master's degree, right? So those are accredited. Then I will put NASM-CPT. I oftentimes don't add the ones that are not accredited. So the accredited certification that NASM has is the CPT. Everything else that we have is a credential, but it is not third-party accredited. Now, that doesn't make them not good. It doesn't make them not significant. But it does mean that the ones that hold the most substance will be the ones that will go first. Also, I'm a licensed massage therapist, so I might put my education first, then my license, then my accredited certification. So you will see physical therapists. They'll put DPT, PT. Why do they put DPT and PT? One means doctorate of physical therapy and the other one means physical therapist. Because you can have the education and get a doctorate in physical therapy and not be licensed as a physical therapist to actually practice. So the education goes first, formal education from university, then the credentialing generally goes there, and then the accredited certifications go there. Now, I know some people who, it doesn't matter what they have, they are collecting the alphabet, which means that if I were to do that, I've got just letters and letters and letters. And a lot of you out there who are accumulating, and you put letters and letters and letters after your name, and that's great, that is fine. I just don't tend to do that. I won't necessarily put PES or CES, but in which order does it go if I am to put it down there? That actually does not matter. There is not a strong law around which one goes there first, which one matters the most. So what you would do is the ones that maybe you don't feel the strongest about might be in the middle somewhere. Because the ones that tend to be at the front and the ones that tend to be at the end are the ones that generally people will look at and have more attention brought to it. Also, the more letters you have, the less anybody pays attention to them. Also, most people don't know and don't care. I think some people may put their letters there because they want individuals to see, look, I have studied. I may not have a degree in this field. I may not have it, but I put in the work. I put in the work to build my education, to make myself better, a self-directed learner, a lifelong learner, someone that values education around this. So that's what they'll do. So you can add that into there. Certainly you can, especially through recognizable organizations. And that's why like I put my NASM information in there. And though it is not third-party accredited, you can still put your PES, your CES, your certified nutrition specialization. You can put in a behavioral change specialist, your senior fitness specialist, because you have those, but I would put them after the credential that's third-party accredited, which would be your NASM-CPT. So that's a great question, RJ. But then you ask another question, and this was the one that got me. The question is number 2. Here it is. Currently, I'm taking a couple of courses, nerd, and being one of the certified nutrition coach course. So you're taking the certified nutrition coach course. Great course, very detailed. Some of the top researchers in nutrition science have contributed to that. So you follow up and you say, so my question is, we all know nutrition's important for clients to reach their goals, but when, if ever, do you charge separate for the 2 services of personal training and nutrition? I love that question. Let's get back to it. I want to finish reading it because I love how you finished the email. Thanks in advance for taking the time to even just read my messages. You are a great storyteller and enjoying listening and catching up to all the shows you've put out. RJ, thank you very much for that. Now let's get back to that question. Do you separate them? And that's a good question. Now I can come to this from a different direction because I'm a personal trainer and I'm a massage therapist. So I have done the mix and match in the past and still do, sort of. And I very much separate them also. So what does that mean? That means I don't necessarily mind if somebody comes in and we're personal training and that person just is telling me, man, my neck, it's really aching me. It's problematic. I've got 2 clients that are elderly, that they have neck issues. And before we even train, they're on the table. I do the neck work on them, make sure that they can move pretty well. And then we get to the exercise. And then at the end, I do put my hands back on them again. After we do some stretches, then I'll do some neck work so they feel better leaving than they did coming in. That's great. But also, I see people just for personal training and I don't work on them. And I do see people just for body work. Come in, let me see you squat, get on the table, let's work on you, get back up, squat. All right, that looks better. Let's do single leg. Let's see arms overhead. And we go through the assessments. Well, what does that mean for you? That means that you can increase the value of your singular session because not only are you a personal trainer, but you also will coach them in nutrition. But I would say, unless that time is carved out specifically for talking about nutrition, then a lot's going to be lost if it's just, hey, when we take breaks, then we could just address your nutrition questions that you may have. It doesn't mean that you can't talk about that, but there's a big difference between having a conversation and making a plan and planning together and identifying those roadblocks and sitting down with singular focus to work on that. So I would say, can you separate them? In fact, maybe you should, at least to a degree, right? I'm working just on personal training. That's what we're doing today. When you're ready to talk about nutrition, we are going to sit down and we're going to have a deep conversation, not a passing conversation in between sets and reps, but a deeper conversation about it. So that way we can pull out your food journal. That way we can write down, we can take notes, we can engage without interruption so that you know where I'm coming from and I understand you and what's important to you, what your values are around food, and how I can interact with you based off the feedback that you're giving me. Hard to do in a session, not impossible, and I think it's workable both ways. But what do I suggest? I suggest if you can, Either take that hour, let's say it's an hour that you're doing a session, and let's do 15-minute consult for nutrition, either at the beginning or the end of the workout, and then do the workout. And you prioritize this based off of what those priorities are. You can say, hey, let's do 30 and 30. You can say, hey, my personal training sessions are my personal training sessions. That's when we work out. I've set up a warm up. I've set up movement prep. We're doing some cardio. I've got an entire workout based off the OPT model that I'm putting together. And I've got different iterations of how I want to engage with you. And so what I don't want is for you to be like, oh, what about my dietary choices throughout the week? You can ask that, but that is not the singular focus of that workout. I think that being very focused on the workout and very, very, very focused on nutrition can happen together, but they happen better separately. So both separate them out, whether it's within the 1 hour workout or separate them out as their different sessions. And this also goes down to what you want too. Like, I don't want to do personal training and then talk about their nutrition. Or you can say, this is exactly why I got my nutrition certification, because I want to talk about it while I'm working with them as a personal trainer. All valid. But you create your barriers on what you want to do and what you would like to provide. So for instance, somebody says, hey, this is what I want to talk about. Can I bend your ear about this? You can say, yes, we can chat about it for a little bit. But what you really need to do is schedule an online session with me, because I don't do my nutrition counseling and these conversations. I don't do that in person. All of those are via Zoom or FaceTime or some other type of modality, virtual modality. Well, I think that's pretty cool, because then you really separate your spaces. You say, this is my training space, this is my training time, this is my nutrition space, this is my nutrition time, and this is how I implement each of those. Once you do that, then you've created kind of a path to follow. So it's not just come one, come all. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about training. We'll talk about nutrition. This is training time. This is nutrition time. And I'm not going to distract away from the important topics of nutrition, because we need to get another set of bench. Because we get another set of bench, because that's also important. So you can do what you want, but I like the idea of creating barriers and constraints around what people can do with me and my services and my time, so that I can then say, this is my time for nutrition counseling. This is my time for working out, and then schedule those appropriately. You can do them together, but I think that you will be better served. Your clients will be better served if you could separate that out. It doesn't mean they can't ask nutrition questions, but when it gets down to the brass tacks of what needs to be done, that's a sit-down conversation that gets focused on, not distracted through personal training, because you're talking about nutrition. RJ, thank you so much. Excellent questions. I appreciate you sending them over. If y'all got questions for me, hit me up. You can do so on Instagram. You want to DM me, it's dr.rickrichey, or email me, rick.richey@nasm.org. Thanks for listening. Y'all keep inspiring people to fitness. This has been the NASM CPT Podcast.